You ever have a moment so perfect, so stupidly perfect, that you tell yourself, nothing could ever go wrong? Yeah, that was my life with Mary. I met her at a Christmas party my company threw 5 years ago. She wore this emerald green dress, laughing like she hadn't a single care in the world. I was the idiot in the corner, nursing a flat beer, wondering how a woman like that could even exist. And somehow she noticed me. The beginning was a dream. Movie dates, late-night drives, dinners where we'd talk until the restaurant kicked us out. She said I made her feel safe, like she could finally stop running from whatever ghost chased her before we met. By year 2, we were married. By year 3, we bought the house with the big porch she always dreamed of. We were happy. At least, I thought we were. Family was important to both of us. Every Sunday, we hosted dinner at our place. My sister, Julia, came over almost every time, bringing her big energy, her wild stories, her loud laugh that filled the whole house. She was the kind of sister you could tell anything to. At least, I thought so back then. Mary loved her immediately. Said Julia made her feel like she had a real sister for the first time. I encouraged it. Hell, I was proud of it. Two of the most important women in my life, becoming best friends? What more could I ask for? And so, the three of us became a unit. Birthdays, BBQs, random game nights, even trips to the lake house my parents left me when they passed. For a while, everything seemed right. But you know how they say you never notice the cracks until the whole wall collapses? Looking back, the signs were there. Late-night girl talks in the living room while I went to bed alone. Long hugs that lasted a second too long. Inside jokes I wasn't part of anymore. Whispers that stopped the second I walked into the room. Still, I made excuses. I wanted to believe the best. They're just close, I told myself. They need each other. It's good for Mary to have someone. Stupid, right? The night everything truly changed, it was a Wednesday. I had a rough day at work. Came home late, hoping for one of Mary's homemade lasagnas and a quiet night. Instead, I found them curled up on the couch together, half a bottle of wine gone, laughing at something only they understood. Mary jumped up like a guilty kid caught stealing cookies. Julia just smiled, that same mischievous smile she'd had since she was a teenager, and said, "Hey stranger, we saved you a glass." I should have known then. I did know. I just didn't want to believe it. 2 days later, I found the first message. Mary left her phone charging in the kitchen. I wasn't snooping. I swear to God, I wasn't. I just picked it up to check the time. The screen lit up with a message from Julia. I missed your touch already. I stood there, staring at it, for what felt like 100 years. Heart pounding so loud I thought the neighbors could hear it. Touch. Touch. Not miss you. Not can't wait to hang out again. Miss your touch. And just like that, the perfect life I thought I had shattered into pieces I could never put back together. I didn't confront them. Not right away. I needed time to think. To breathe. To decide whether to burn everything to the ground or to make sure they did it to themselves first. I slept in the guest room that night. Told Mary the first wasn't feeling well. She kissed my forehead, told me to get some rest. That kiss, it made my skin crawl. Over the next few weeks, I watched. I listened. I collected. Late-night calls between them that ended in silence when I walked by. The way Mary would fix her hair when Julia was coming over, but barely noticed when I walked through the door. Little touches. Little smiles. It wasn't just a fling. It wasn't just one stupid mistake. They were in love. At least, they thought they were. Meanwhile, I started my own project. I called my old friend, a real estate agent, and told him to list the house quietly. Started moving my name off the joint accounts one by one. Took my bonuses and stashed them in a private account she didn't know about. I sold the lake house too. Julia loved that place. Figured I'd let her miss it. By the time I was ready, everything we owned together wasn't together anymore. It was mine, or it was gone. And they had no idea. They thought they were playing me. They thought they were building a secret life behind my back. What they didn't know was that I was building something too. Their downfall. You can only pretend for so long. You can only plaster on fake smiles. Say, "I love you" with a steady voice. Sit across from two liars at dinner and act like you don't see the truth dripping off their every word. I managed it for 3 weeks. 3 long, brutal weeks. That Friday night was supposed to be just another girls' night. Mary said Julia was coming over. They were going to order pizza, maybe watch a movie. She kissed my cheek and said, "You can have the night off. Go have a beer with the guys." I smiled, nodded, pretended. Instead, I parked down the street. Waited. Around 8 p.m., Julia's car pulled into the driveway. I saw her through the windshield, hair freshly done, makeup a little too perfect for just a movie night. Something in my chest cracked wide open. But I stayed put. Waited. Watched. An hour passed. Then 2. Lights flickered in the living room, silhouettes on the curtains. Laughter. Movement. A kiss. Not on the cheek. Not a friendly hug. A kiss. The kind of kiss that was supposed to be mine. I don't even remember getting out of the car. 1 second, I was sitting there, fist clenched on the steering wheel. The next, I was standing in the driveway, heart hammering against my ribs like it wanted out. I didn't storm in. I didn't scream. I opened the front door as quietly as I could. Walked down the hall. And there they were. Mary sitting on Julia's lap, hands tangled in each other's hair, lost in a world where I didn't exist. For a second, a stupid, split second, I thought maybe if I just closed my eyes, it would all disappear. But it didn't. It was real. More real than anything I had ever seen in my life. Mary saw me first. Her eyes widened, guilt, fear, shame, all flashing across her face in an instant. Julia froze. No one spoke. The only sound was the stupid movie still playing on the TV in the background, some happy romantic comedy that felt like a cruel joke. I didn't say a word. Not one. Just turned around and walked back out the door. The cold night air hit my face, but it couldn't numb the fire burning inside me. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurt. I was clear. For the first time in weeks, I knew exactly what I had to do. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table of a cheap motel room, staring at the wall, making a list. A real, written list of everything I would take from them. House, cars, bank accounts, pension plans. The lake house was already gone, good. I made copies of every document I could think of. Called my lawyer, yes, at 2 a.m., and left a voicemail, emergency. Call me first thing. By sunrise, the plan was in motion. I filed for divorce. Filed for sole ownership of the house, easy, since I bought it before we were married. Canceled every joint card. Closed every shared account. Moved every penny I could legally move. I even called the utilities and had them scheduled for disconnection in 30 days. By the time Mary and Julia realized what was happening, the ground would already be gone beneath their feet. And I never raised my voice once. Never accused them. Never gave them the satisfaction of seeing me broken. I just disappeared. Quietly. Efficiently. Ruthlessly. The last time Mary tried to reach me, it was 2 weeks after the night I caught them. She called 20 times. Left voicemails. Some crying. Some angry. Some begging. I didn't answer a single one. Julia sent an email, 1 sentence long. Please, Frank. Let's talk. No. No more talking. No more second chances. No more family. They made their choice. Now they would live with it. I heard through a friend that after the utilities were cut off, they tried to stay at Julia's apartment. It wasn't much, a 1-bedroom above a nail salon. No more 4-bedroom house. No more luxury cars. No more beach weekends or shopping sprees. Just the two of them, sitting in the ruins of everything they thought they could steal from me. Sometimes, when I'm driving past the old neighborhood, I think about stopping. About walking up to them and asking, was it worth it? But I don't. Because I already know the answer. Funny thing about betrayal, it doesn't just end a relationship. It changes who you are at the core. The man who once believed in forever now believed in reality, in consequences, in making sure no one ever had the chance to carve him open like that again. I didn't move far. A small apartment downtown. Nothing fancy, just mine. No shared memories staining the walls. No ghosts sitting across the dinner table pretending to be people I loved. I heard things through the grapevine. How Mary and Julia were struggling. How the landlord showed up one afternoon with an eviction notice. How Julia's old car, the one she loved so much, got repossessed when she couldn't keep up with the payments. They thought they could live on love alone, but love doesn't pay for rent, doesn't fill a gas tank, doesn't put food on the table when you've burned every bridge that once supported you. I didn't gloat, didn't celebrate, didn't even tell anyone what really happened, let them guess. Let the rumors spread like wildfire while I quietly rebuilt my life one piece at a time. The divorce went through faster than expected. Mary didn't contest it, probably knew she had no chance, and Julia? She wasn't even a blip on the legal radar, just a ghost who once called herself my sister. Sometimes, late at night, I'd catch myself wondering if they ever sat there, in that tiny apartment, staring at the peeling paint and thinking about everything they gave up for a few stolen kisses and lies whispered in the dark. I started working out again, eating better, picking up extra shifts when I felt restless, turned all the anger, all the heartbreak, into fuel for something better, something real. I wasn't the same man who knelt on one knee and promised Mary the world, and I sure as hell wasn't the brother who thought Julia would stand by him no matter what. One night, I ran into an old friend at the bar. He asked about Mary, about Julia, about the house, about everything, and all I said was, "Life's better when you clean house," and left it at that. He nodded like he understood, like maybe he'd been burned too, and maybe he had, because betrayal isn't rare, it's just quieter than we think, hidden behind smiles and handshakes and Sunday dinners. I heard Mary got a job waiting tables at some diner off the highway, not the glamorous life she imagined when she wrapped herself around my sister like a snake. And Julia? Last I heard, she was couch surfing, pride too thick to come crawling back to anyone who might have once cared. I could have helped them, could have thrown them a lifeline just to watch them drown slower, but I didn't, because the best revenge isn't rage, it's indifference, it's building a life so good, their absence feels like a favor. Sometimes, when the city lights flicker against my windshield driving home, I wonder if they still talk about me, if they still convince themselves it was worth it, if they cling to each other in the dark, trying to fill the void they dug with their own bare hands. And every time I wonder, I smile to myself, shake my head, and drive on, because some betrayals don't deserve closure. Some endings don't deserve a second glance. Regret has a funny way of creeping in when the world gets quiet. It doesn't slam through the door all at once. It seeps under it like smoke, filling the spaces you thought you could ignore. I imagine that's how it hit Mary and Julia, slow at first. A sinking feeling when the lights went out because they couldn't pay the bill. A tightening in their chest when another friend stopped answering their calls. One by one, the people they thought would support them disappeared, because loyalty fades fast when you're standing on the wrong side of betrayal. I didn't have to lift a finger. Life was doing the work for me, and honestly, it was almost boring how predictably they unraveled. I heard Mary tried to get her old job back at the boutique she used to brag about. But funny thing about small towns, word spreads, and no one wants a thief of hearts or trust running their front counter. Julia wasn't faring any better. She bounced from couch to couch. Friends grew tired of the drama, tired of the excuses, tired of sheltering someone who had lit a match and set her own life on fire. They weren't the Golden Girls anymore. They were a cautionary tale whispered over coffee tables and bar stools. Meanwhile, my life got simpler and better with every passing day. I bought a small fixer-upper on the edge of town, spent weekends sanding floors and painting walls. Every nail I hammered, every board I straightened felt like therapy. Rebuilding something no one could take from me again. I didn't date for a long time, didn't even look, not because I didn't want to, but because I needed to remember who I was without Mary's voice in my ear, without Julia's shadow standing behind me pretending to be family. Some nights I sat on my new porch, beer in hand, watching the stars, and for the first time in years, I felt peace instead of pressure. I felt like my life was mine again, like every breath didn't have to be measured against someone else's expectations or lies. I never answered Mary's final letter, the one that came crumpled and tear-stained in my mailbox 3 months after everything ended. I read it once, folded it carefully, and threw it in the fire pit out back without a second thought. She said she was sorry, that she didn't know why she did it, that she missed the life we had. But you don't trip and fall into betrayal. You walk there, one step at a time, and they both sprinted. Julia never reached out again. Maybe her pride wouldn't let her. Maybe deep down she knew there was no apology big enough to fill the hole she'd dug. Or maybe she was just too busy trying to survive the life she chose. Either way, it didn't matter. They were ghosts to me now. Just memories blurred by time and distance and a deep, hard-earned indifference. Some people heal with forgiveness. Others heal with fire. And me? I healed by building a life so solid, so untouchable, that no one's betrayal could ever crack it again. Every morning I woke up in that small house with sunlight pouring through the windows and silence wrapped around me like armor, and I smiled, because for the first time in a long time, the only person I had to trust was myself. Desperation is louder than regret. It doesn't whisper like guilt. It screams, it grabs at anything it can, claws and begs and promises things it can't deliver. I knew it was only a matter of time before Mary and Julia tried something. Because people like them don't know how to live in the wreckage they created. They think if they knock hard enough, someone will come fix it for them. Someone will save them from themselves. But not this time. Not me. It started with a text, a number I didn't recognize, just 2 words, "Please talk." I deleted it without reading the rest. Then came a letter slipped under my door, No return address, no signature, but I knew the handwriting. Mary's loops and curls burned into my brain from years of birthday cards and love notes that turn out to be lies. She wrote that she was lost, that she realized too late what she had destroyed, that Julia wasn't enough, that love built on betrayal crumbles faster than sandcastles in the tide. She begged for a chance to explain, to apologize properly, to meet, just once, at the diner where she worked. I sat at my kitchen table, letter in one hand, beer in the other, staring at the words until they blurred together. Part of me wanted to go, not for closure, but to look her in the eye and show her how completely she no longer mattered. But another part of me, the wiser part, the part that survived, knew better, knew that true victory isn't standing over someone broken. It's walking away without ever needing to look back. I burned that letter too, watched it turn to ash and float into the night air, just like every promise she ever made. A few days later, Julia tried her hand, sent an email this time. More formal, colder, said she missed her brother, missed the family she destroyed, missed the version of herself that existed before she let a stupid, selfish impulse ruin everything. She said she understood if I never forgave her, but that she needed me to know she was sorry. I didn't respond, didn't even hesitate. Some wounds are meant to scar, not to heal. Some bridges deserve to burn until there's nothing left but smoke and silence. I heard they even showed up at my work one afternoon, asked for me at the front desk, told the receptionist they were old family friends. But she knew the story. Everyone did by then. Small towns have long memories and even longer tongues. The receptionist smiled politely and told them I wasn't available, wasn't interested, wasn't coming. I imagined them standing there, in the lobby where I once proudly introduced Mary to my coworkers, Julia visiting during lunch breaks, back when I thought loyalty meant something, standing there now with nothing but each other and the wreckage of what they'd done. That night, I drove past the old house, not to see them. They weren't there anymore, but to see the for sale sign out front, fresh paint covering the memories, someone else's curtains fluttering in the windows, someone else's life beginning where mine ended. I smiled, a real one, the kind that starts in your chest and works its way up, because life isn't about who betrays you. It's about who you become afterward, and me? I was becoming something they could never touch again. Life has a way of filling the empty spaces if you let it, if you stop picking at the wounds and start opening the windows, letting in fresh air where the stench of betrayal once lived. That's what I did. I didn't chase closure, didn't seek revenge beyond the silence I wrapped around myself like armor. I just lived, day by day, brick by brick, rebuilding the parts of myself they tried to take. I started volunteering at a local shelter on weekends, fixing up old houses for families who needed a second chance. Something about swinging a hammer, feeling the weight of wood and steel in my hands. It grounded me, reminded me that not everything broken stays broken forever. That's where I met her. Not Mary, not Julia, not a ghost from the past, but someone real, someone who laughed with her whole chest, who looked you in the eyes when she talked, who didn't flinch away from honesty like it was a weapon. Her name was Rachel. She had paint on her jeans and hope in her smile. And when she shook my hand that first afternoon, it felt like a door opening somewhere deep inside me. I didn't fall in love right away. This wasn't some fairy tale rebound. This was slow, careful, the way you learn to trust again after walking barefoot through shattered glass, coffee after long shifts, long talks about everything and nothing, days that stretched into nights without me noticing. She didn't ask about my past right away, didn't pry or push. She let me tell my story in my own time. And when I finally did, when I told her about Mary and Julia and the house and the empty driveway and the hollow spaces they left behind, she didn't pity me, didn't flinch. She just listened, really listened, like my pain wasn't something to be fixed or pitted, but something that deserved space to breathe. Meanwhile, I heard bits and pieces about Mary and Julia, like broken echoes bouncing off walls I no longer lived within. Someone said Mary moved 2 towns over, picking up shifts wherever she could, struggling to keep her head above water. Someone else said Julia left altogether, chasing a fresh start in a city too big to care about the mess she carried. I didn't care, not really. Their lives were no longer mine to worry about. Their downfall wasn't my victory. My peace wasn't built on their misery. It was built on the freedom of having survived them. Rachel and I kept building something new, something simple and real. Dinners cooked badly but laughed over anyway. Long drives with no destination. Mornings where I woke up and didn't feel like I was bracing for disaster. One night, sitting on the back porch under a sky full of stars, Rachel leaned her head against my shoulder and said, "You're stronger than you think." And for the first time, I believed it. I wasn't the man Mary broke or the brother Julia betrayed. I was a new man, scarred but standing, wiser and harder to destroy. And if there's one thing life taught me, it's that real loyalty doesn't need to be tested by betrayal to be proven, it just is. Steady and sure like the sunrise after the darkest night. So when I think back to that old life, to the lies and the loss and the empty promises, I don't feel anger anymore. I feel gratitude. Because without the fire they set, I never would have learned how to build a home that no one could ever burn down again. I should have known it wasn't over. People like Mary don't let go of the past, not because they miss you, not because they love you, but because they can't stand to watch someone else live the life they threw away. It started with a letter. Slipped into my mailbox like a ghost from a past I thought I'd buried. This time it wasn't an apology, it wasn't begging. It was nostalgia dressed up like regret. She wrote about our first Christmas together, about dancing barefoot in the kitchen, about the way I used to leave notes on the bathroom mirror just to make her smile, like dragging up memories would somehow erase everything she burned down. I didn't respond, didn't even think about it. Because here's the thing about memories, they're just echoes. They don't rebuild the walls they tore down. They don't erase the night spent wondering why you weren't enough. They don't change the fact that when it mattered, she chose my sister over me. A week later, I saw her, not planned, not expected. I was at the hardware store picking up paint and nails for a new project, and there she was, standing in the aisle like a ghost made flesh, thinner than I remembered, older somehow. Like guilt aged her faster than time ever could. She smiled, small and broken, like maybe the right smile could undo the damage, like maybe history could rewrite itself if she just stood there long enough, but it couldn't, and it wouldn't, and I wasn't that man anymore. She took a step forward, said my name soft enough that it barely touched the air between us, but it hit me like a weight anyway, not because I missed her, not because I wanted her back, but because for a second, I remembered how badly she had wrecked me, how long it took to dig myself out of the hole she helped bury me in. I shook my head once, a slow, deliberate no, and turned my back on her without saying a word, because sometimes the strongest thing you can do isn't scream or demand answers or ask why. Sometimes it's just refusing to open the door again. Refusing to let the storm back into a house you finally made a home. I walked out of that store lighter than I'd felt in years, like setting down a burden I didn't realize I was still carrying, like closing a chapter so tightly that not even the wind could pry it open. Later that night, Rachel and I sat on the porch, watching the sun sink into the horizon, and when she asked how my day was, I smiled for real, not the fake polite smile you throw on to survive, but a real one, the kind that says I'm here, I'm whole, I'm free. I didn't tell her about seeing Mary, didn't need to, because that part of my life was dead, buried, and gone, and I didn't owe those ghosts anything anymore. Not explanations, not forgiveness, not another second of my time. Some doors stay closed not because you hate what's behind them, but because you love what's ahead of you more. And for the first time in my life, I was walking forward without looking back, without regrets, without fear. Freedom doesn't come all at once. It comes in pieces, in little quiet victories that most people miss, like waking up without dread weighing down your chest, like laughing without wondering when the knife will fall, like sitting in silence and not feeling lonely, but feeling whole. That's where I was now. Life wasn't flashy, it wasn't perfect, but it was mine, real and solid and earned through every broken night I survived, every lie I buried, every goodbye I didn't realize was a blessing in disguise. Rachel and I built our own kind of life, slow and steady, built on open doors and honest words, not secrets whispered behind closed doors, not betrayal dressed up as family. She loved to plant flowers in the backyard, even though she joked she couldn't keep a cactus alive. And I loved to fix things, build things, small repairs that somehow made the house feel more like a home every day. One Sunday afternoon while cleaning out the last few boxes from the garage, I found an old photo album tucked between some dusty camping gear, pictures of Mary and me, of Julia laughing beside us, of a life that looked so perfect on the outside you'd think it could never crack. For a second, I almost closed it, almost shoved it back onto the shelf and pretended it didn't exist. But I didn't. I sat there, flipping through the pages, letting every memory wash over me without drowning in them, without feeling the old anger or grief, just acceptance. It happened. It broke me, and I survived it. That night, I tossed the album into the fire pit in the backyard, watched the pages curl and blacken under the flames, and it didn't feel like erasing the past. It felt like honoring the man I used to be, the man who deserved better than half-truths and stolen promises. Somewhere across town, Mary was living a life she never planned for, struggling to make ends meet, clinging to whatever scraps of pride she had left, and Julia was just another ghost lost in a city too big to care about broken sisters and betrayed brothers. And maybe once upon a time, knowing that would have satisfied me, would have felt like winning, but now it just felt distant, irrelevant, like a storm that passed so long ago you barely remember what the thunder sounded like. I didn't need them to hurt to heal, didn't need their regret to validate my worth. I found it in the steady rise of my own breath, in the hands that built new walls, new dreams, new love without fear. Rachel curled up beside me that evening, her head resting on my chest, and I realized the best revenge isn't watching the people who hurt you fall. It's living so well that their absence feels like a gift, not a loss. I wasn't broken anymore, wasn't looking over my shoulder anymore. I was here, present, alive in a way I never was when I was busy loving people who only knew how to take. No more ghosts, no more what-ifs, just the open road ahead and a heart finally free enough to follow it. I should have known there would be one last attempt because people like Mary never leave quietly. They don't slip into the night with dignity. They claw and beg and throw Hail Mary passes hoping someone will catch them before they hit the ground. It happened on a rainy Thursday, the kind of day that already feels heavy before anything even happens. Rachel and I had plans to grab dinner downtown. A simple night, nothing fancy. But on my way to the car I saw her, standing at the end of my driveway like some broken statue from another life, soaked to the bone, hair plastered to her face, arms wrapped around herself like that could somehow shield her from the choices she made. I didn't feel anger, didn't feel pity, just a tired kind of sadness, the way you feel when you see a building half collapsed and realize there's no saving it, only cleaning up the mess after it falls. She didn't speak right away, just looked at me with those wide, desperate eyes, the same eyes that once held promises, now only full of regret too late to matter. She said my name, soft, cracked like a broken record, said she missed me, said she made the biggest mistake of her life, that she would spend every day making it up to me if I just gave her the chance. Her words spilled out, messy and frantic, like someone trying to patch a sinking ship with their bare hands. But it was useless. Every sentence only proved how little she understood about the kind of damage betrayal does. About the way it doesn't just hurt you, it rewrites you, rebuilds you in ways that make going back impossible. I waited until she finished, waited until the rain blurred the edges of everything around us. And then I spoke, steady, calm, final, told her I forgave her, not for her sake, but for mine, because I wasn't carrying her weight anymore. Told her she needed to move on because there was nothing left here for her. Not a home, not a second chance, not a man she used to know. I turned away before she could answer, before she could beg, because sometimes the cruelest kindness is refusing to let someone cling to a corpse of what once was. Rachel pulled up a few minutes later, saw the scene, didn't say anything, just reached out and squeezed my hand as I climbed into the passenger seat, silent understanding passing between us like a lifeline. As we drove away, I didn't look back, didn't check the mirror, because some chapters don't deserve a reread. Some stories are better left in ashes, and mine was one of them. The rain kept falling, washing the streets clean, and for the first time in a long, long time, I felt clean too, like every lie, every wound, every betrayal had finally been rinsed from my skin, leaving nothing but the man I fought so hard to become. And as Rachel laughed at some stupid joke I made, throwing her head back without a care in the world, I realized the final goodbye wasn't spoken at the end of the driveway. It was spoken the day I chose myself over the people who never really loved me the way I deserved to be loved. Healing doesn't happen in one grand moment. It happens quietly. In the small, ordinary days you stop holding your breath. It happens when you stop waiting for the other shoe to drop, when you realize you're no longer surviving. You're living, really living. That's where I was now. And it hit me one morning as I sipped my coffee on the front porch of the house I built with my own two hands, sunlight breaking through the trees. The world still sleepy and soft around me. I wasn't carrying the weight anymore. Not Mary, not Julia, Not the mistakes or the betrayal or the nights spent wondering if I was enough. I was free, and freedom doesn't always look like fireworks or grand gestures. Sometimes it just looks like peace, like breathing deep without feeling a vice around your ribs, like waking up next to someone who sees you, really sees you, and chooses you without hesitation. Rachel stirred inside, her laughter floating through the open window, and I smiled, because life had a funny way of giving you what you deserve after you've lost everything you thought you needed. Mary and Julia faded from my story like background noise, like a bad song you change halfway through without a second thought. I didn't hate them anymore, didn't love them either. They were just lessons now, reminders of who I'd been and who I refused to become. Sometimes people break you, not to destroy you, but to rebuild you into someone stronger, sharper, smarter, and that's exactly what they did. Their betrayal lit a fire under my life, and I rose from it, forged into something unshakable. I didn't need revenge anymore, didn't need apologies or explanations or validation. The best revenge was the man I became without them. The man who didn't flinch when the past tried to claw its way back. The man who built a future so solid not even memories could haunt it. I married Rachel 2 years later in a small ceremony under an oak tree. No fanfare, no big guest list, just real love and promises that came from healed hearts, not broken ones. And when I looked into her eyes and said, "I do," I wasn't thinking about the people who betrayed me. I was thinking about the man who survived them, the man who refused to let their choices define him. Life moved on, as it always does. Seasons changed, new memories were made, old scars faded into stories I told, sometimes over beers with friends who knew what it meant to start over, to rebuild. If you asked me now what I would say to the man I was back then, standing at the edge of betrayal with his heart bleeding out in his hands, I'd tell him this: thank them. Thank them for showing you exactly who they were before you wasted another year loving people who didn't deserve it. Thank them for pushing you so hard against the ground that you had no choice but to stand up stronger than ever. And most of all, thank them for walking out of your life, because you would have never had the strength to kick them out yourself. I'm not broken anymore. I'm not angry anymore. I'm free, and there's no better ending to a story like mine than that.